Welcome back. Thank you to everyone who showed up. Today on the agenda, I think what we're going to do is we're just going to pick up where we left off on Scrimba. I think I've already done chapter 15. So a quick recap for those who may have been here yesterday or may have not been. Last time we started out with the Scrimba React course. We are on the first section, which is to build a React info site. And we did the first 15 parts of it. And so now we're going to just carry on. I think I'm going to approach this for another 2 hours. This whole part is 2 hours and 37 minutes. We'll see how far we get in, and I'll decide then whether I'll just break at the 2 hour mark, or if I will just finish off the section. But yeah, I'm just gonna click onto this next part here. Let me actually post this somewhere. One second. I think there is a channel on Discord that I can do self-promo. Cool. So let's see. Okay, custom components. Let's start.
When we talked about composability being one of the major benefits of React, we talked about the possibility in React to create our own custom components. What we currently have going on is we're saving our JSX elements here, our React elements,
with over here on the side, just to make sure that everything is good. Where we go? There we are. Cool. Okay, so you might hear an echo. Just quickly,
in a variable, and then rendering that variable directly with React DOM.render. And although this has been working for us so far, it doesn't allow us a lot of flexibility. Then rendering that variable directly with React DOM.render. And although this has been working for us so far, it doesn't allow us a lot of flexibility when it comes to creating our own components in React. And even further, it's also pretty obvious we wouldn't want to take all of our markup and stuff it directly into React DOM.render, even though I think technically this might work just fine. Actually, I'm curious. Let's give this a shot. I'll comment this out. Okay, so everything is technically still working, but we run into the same issue as we used to in kind of the old days of creating HTML code, where if we're trying to stuff everything into one place, not only do the elements not become reusable, but it becomes really difficult to maintain as a developer. So creating our variable up here got us one step closer, but it's still not quite good enough. Instead, what we are going to start learning about is creating our own custom components. Now, I gave you a taste of this early on in the course, but we're going to actually learn it the real way now. In programming, the concept of a function is one that allows us to write some code that we can then execute over and over and over again, just by calling that function. And React adopts this same concept of having a function that allows us to create user interface or create elements over and over and over again if we wanted to. Knowing how functions work, it's really tempting to say, okay, well, I'm going to create a function and let's give it a temporary name for just a second. And we might say, well, I have a function and I want it to return my UI,
hey, Carol,
my
how's it
elements
going?
here.
Welcome to the stream.
Anytime that function gets
Thank you for
called.
joining.
So I might try something like this. Let me get rid of page here, and then instead of page, we might say, well, let's call our temporary name function, and that is going to return the React elements that we asked it to, and therefore we have temporary a function that we can reuse.
Calling the function. Okay.
Well, let's see what happens. Look at that. It actually worked.
Oh, nice.
And what we have here is basically 90% of the way into creating our own custom components.
Yeah.
A function like this that returns React elements is considered in React a component. However, there's a couple of conventions that we need to follow for everything to work correctly all the time. The first one is we need to use Pascal case instead of camel case for our component names.
Thank you
all
for
that
joining
means
the
is
stream.
I need to capitalize the first letter of my
how
component.
did you like it?
And
I already
secondly,
know React,
instead of
but I'm just
calling this
redoing
function
it
with
because,
parentheses like we might be used to, we
I should
actually
pause here
need
for a moment because it feels like I'm going to talk for a quick second. But I'm only doing it just to see if I have any gaps in like my knowledge. And so far, I actually have picked up a little bit. So like it has strengthened my already like I'm not. I'm a React developer, but you can always improve. Cultured Coder, thank you for the follow. Welcome to the stream.
To wrap it in angle brackets, similar to an HTML element. And I still need to change this to a capital letter there. And that's the only changes we need to make from a regular JavaScript function that you have probably written hundreds of by now, and a React component that uses the same concept of functions to create reusable user interface pieces.
Oh, right.
You'll see if I hit save, everything is still working as we would expect.
I haven't done the lead code question
today.
Okay,
maybe you can
so
feel
maybe I'll
it.
end up the stream with that
for
tonight.
A practice. I'm actually going to erase everything because you are going to write everything again from scratch. First, I'll write out the challenge for you.
Yeah, there is a React 18
I've erased our code and saved it so that our page went away.
Carol.
This challenge is going to be given to you in two parts. The first part is to create an ordered list that enumerates the reasons why you're excited to be learning React. Don't spend too much time trying to come up with a huge list. Just put a few things in an ordered list. And then I want you to render your list to the page. This is going to require you to remember all of the steps that we've learned so far on the basics of setting up a React app. So pause the screencast and work on part 1 of this challenge.
All right, so let's see here. Our challenge is, for the first part, is to create a page of your own using a custom page component. So we will be using a component, okay? It should return an ordered list with the reasons why you are excited to learn React and render your list to the page. All right, so let's start typing then. Const temporary page. Do I need brackets? No, doesn't feel like it. Oh, sorry, function. My brain's not working yet. We're getting those juices flowing. Okay, so function temporary page. We're going to do return, and since we're going to return, we need to return an ordered list. So we have an OL, and with a list of reasons. I'm now learning TypeScript and Node.js. Oh, nice. That's a good combination. Node is very, very fun to work with. I work with Node. It's a good environment to get familiar with, I would say. It is composable. We'll give 3 reasons. Declarative. It is well, composable is part of reusable. Has dynamic refresh. Component refresh. So it refreshes each component without needing to refresh the whole screen. So after we return an ordered list with the reasons why you're excited about React, we need to render this. So it's going to be, oh right, I forgot one thing. What did I forget? So let's see what you're saying here. I'm waiting for summer as my favorite creator announced a React course. Jonas from Udemy. I don't know if you know him. He's my favorite teacher. No, I actually have not used Udemy at all for any learning. I worked with 100 devs actually. So we need to import React from. I think we still need to do React here because and then React DOM from act, because it is 17, but the... Okay, and so it's React DOM.render the under the hood material for Scrimba. Jonas from Udemy. So temporary page. And where are we going to do this? It's going to be document.get element by ID, and it's going to be root. Here. Let's try and see. Will this work? Temporary is not defined. Oh. I put my space in the wrong spot. Nice. So we got it to work. Hold on. Hold on. Okay, sorry about that. We run the code, it works, everything here is good.
To get started, we need to import React from
Thank you, Carol.
React.
I appreciate that. Are you on?
Spell
Oh,
React
I'll give you a
correctly
follow
there.
back on Twitter.
And we'll import React DOM from React-DOM. We'll go ahead and use React DOM to render. Let's start with just some inline JSX here. We'll say it's working. And I need to select my root element as the place to put this H1. Hit save as a sanity check, and we know it's working.
Perfect.
Awesome. Now the meat. We are going to create our own custom
Right.
page component.
This is the
by
proper way
using
to do
a
it. So he's
function
testing
called
his-
page
his-
using a capital letter to begin, and
his-
this function
the fact that
is
React
simply
DOM
going
render
to
will work
return some
before
UI,
building his
or
function
in
out.
other words, some JSX that we can put in the page. Just as another little sanity check, I'm just going
you
to
said you
remove
gave me
the
a follow. I
H1
haven't-
here and put it inside my page
Let's give you
component,
a follow back.
and then render my page component as we've learned. And I refresh and everything is still working, and just to make sure,
there you
I'll
go.
just make a change. I'll say it's still working. Okay, so now the next part. We are going to turn this into an
give you a follow back.
unordered list. And we'll just put a few list items in here. And let's see, these are reasons that we're excited to be learning React. Maybe for one, it's a popular library. So I'll be able to fit in with the cool kids. This probably has a pretty loose definition for what the cool kids are, but that's okay. Okay, we'll put a second item here.
So yeah, he's basically building
And
the
just so
same
you
thing
can
that we
see
just
everything,
built.
I'm gonna move this onto its own line.
I appreciate that. Welcome to the stream, Carol.
I'm more likely to get a job as a developer if I know React. And
That's
hopefully
true.
you have some other good reasons. I'm gonna leave it at that for now, just for the sake of learning. I'll go ahead and refresh, and there we go. We've got our two pretty ugly, unstyled elements that we have on the page, but it seems to be working. Okay, nice work on part 1 of the challenge. In part 2 of the challenge, which will be in the next screencast, we're going to add a little bit more to our simple page here. However, before moving on, if any part of this was still confusing for you, I really encourage you to go back, try to rewatch some of these videos. You could even start from the beginning. Maybe you'll have some additional context that will help in your understanding. And
Perfect.
as always, reach out to the Scrimba community on Discord. If you have any questions, people are always happy to answer. But don't just plow forward if you're still feeling confused. do some research, rewatch some of the videos, make sure you're doing all of the challenges, and then when you're ready, let's go forward and we'll work on part 2.
Yeah, perfect. So are you familiar with any React frameworks? Next.js. I was going to work with Astro, but I haven't familiarized myself with any frameworks yet. I will actually be building with Astro soon-ish. Right now, where I'm at is that I'm kind of like just trying to take it simple, build like a habit again of like streaming by doing something that is familiar, so that I can do like a learning and a interacting like segment all at once, like being able to mesh it and making the flow work well before trying to learn something online that is like that is unfamiliar and have to learn how to stream and then like build familiarity with the stream and build my flow, you know. But yeah, if you stick around, because we will get to Astro this time around. And so Astro is a framework used mainly for static web pages. Let me just show you here quickly. As you can see, when I typed it in, it shows up because I use it I use it a lot. It's compared to Next.js in terms of like page load size. So it's worth checking out. I have the idea that I might build like a small like fake business static web page to see how it, and then build its equivalent using vanilla JavaScript and like HTML and CSS and stuff, or maybe like maybe just regular like with Next, and then just compare them, and that way I have multiple frameworks under my belt, and then just compare performance essentially. Just make sure you announce your streams on Twitter. I'm hanging out there. Yeah, I will definitely hang out. I'm also on Discord. Let me show you here. I can share this link, and oh, I did not realize that it does it twice. Okay, well, I'll have to figure that out. Whoops. All right, but let's continue.
The next part of our challenge is to add some more elements to our page here. First, I want you to add a header element with a nested nav element inside, and then inside the nav, you'll have a nested image element with the source that I've mentioned here, and some other notes that you should read through. I also want you to add an H1 element that will go below the header element, but above the ordered list. And at the very bottom, underneath the ordered list, I want you to add a footer element with some text that I have here. Make sure to read through the whole challenge there so you get a better idea of what you need to be working on. And as always, pause the screencast here and work on this challenge.
All right. So we learned an important bit about React yesterday. And does anyone know what it is? And it has to pertain to this challenge. Welcome, John. How's it going? Welcome to the stream. Right? Yesterday, during the stream, during the first part of this React section, the instructor mentioned that React can only return one component. But now, it's expecting us to return a couple of components here. It's expecting us to return a header with a nested nav and an image element. You know, there's a bunch of things here. Haxel, welcome. Welcome to the stream. Howdy. Yeah, so we can use a fragment to put it around everything. That's correct. So I'm just going to use a div just to make things simple. Right? And I am just going to highlight this, push this in, and we're going to have a header element. Inside of it is going to be a nav element. right? With an image element inside of it. So an image is a self-closing tag, right? Did it give me the... Okay, it did. It's period react hyphen logo dot png. And we said it was a self-closing tag. Cool. Put all that in a div or a React fragment. Yeah, that's true. That's correct. Welcome. And so now we need to add a h1 element that goes above our ordered list, right? And we're gonna say, hello chat. Oh, describing the page. Okay, well, love your personal website, by the way. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. So let's say reasons I'm excited to learn React. Excited to learn React! Exclamation point. And then we're gonna add a footer. Footer. After the list that says, and just for the sake of simplicity, I am just gonna copy this and paste that. Synotech Technologies Development, and it's 2023. Can you believe that? It's 2023. I would love if Bob could explain it a bit more of how putting elements in a div can affect CSS. Okay, so let me show you here. Oh. I won't be able to show how the console... root directory, catch all file name, dismiss. And this console here, like, there is no difference really. There is no difference really. It's just going to either, like, when you insert a React fragment, it will automatically generate a div over on the other side. I believe that's what happens. Is that you will immediately generate a div on the other side. Now the thing is I could start up an environment for this, but this would take a little bit of time. But we'll just move forward. Basically, you can try, like, it's really hard to show because I don't have access to the console the way that you would on your browser. But yeah, in terms of styling, I don't think styling affects too much in terms of nested elements, because you will still have to, like, count the number of children in your parent container. Yeah, no, it won't affect anything, right? Because what you can do is, if this was I wonder, can you do something like this, right? And, like, just say this is parent, class name is like, no, class name is like parent, and then do something like that. I don't think that would work. I think you would have to name it and make it a div, right? Oops. That's how I think it would have to work, wouldn't it? Could you just use a React fragment without anything in there and just call it a... It doesn't seem to like that at all. Yeah, so an identifier was expected. So yeah, I guess we learned that you do need to put it, like, if you want to... No, I don't think so either. Going through the course, I was wondering how this works. Yeah. So I guess you would have to like specifically assign it a div tag if you wanted to assign it like any CSS properties. So we'll get rid of this and we'll continue watching and see what he says.
One of the biggest tricks in this challenge is to make sure that you don't just try to add a header. Hopefully that didn't cause too many headaches for anyone, but the biggest problem with this is that, again, I'm trying to create two sibling JSX elements here, one with the header and one with the ordered list. Inside of a component, I just can't do that. I have to have one parent component. So I could either use those fragment tags that I briefly mentioned earlier, like this, or a lot of times you'll see people just wrap it in a div like this.
Okay. But I guess he's not assigning that div correct me if I'm wrong. When this generates on your web page, you will have a div wrapped around this specific div. So you will have a div with the ID of root, which is where we are placing this div component. So you have a div, and then the rest of the React component. Am I correct in assuming that? Because that's what the second parameter in the render method is, where we put basically everything in this component. I believe so. Yeah, I believe so too. So it's two divs.
Now that I've done that, everything is working again the way I'd expect. Inside of my header, I'm going to include a nav element. Nav is just basically an HTML5 semantic element that is basically the same thing as a div, except it's better for screen readers and assistive technologies. Inside of my nav, I'm going to have an image element.
Now that I have a copy of you guys here, how's the music, by the way?
Source that I included up here. So I'll just copy this. Make sure I get that quotation mark there. Get rid of that extra space. And let's just save this and see how things are looking. Okay, and my React logo is
it too
huge,
loud?
So I'm going to give it a width of 40 pixels like I've done before.
I can't tell if you're trolling me right now.
Okay, that's more manageable. Next, we need to add an H1 with some text describing the page, like reasons why I'm excited
Scrimba
to
is loud.
React.
Okay.
We'll just copy that.
Well, that's good, because I want you to hear Scrimba over me for
header, and we'll put an H1 there, and I'll just paste that text in right there. Refresh it, and okay, that's starting to look good. Then at the very bottom, so this is above this ending div, because I still need it to be a part of my page component, but below my ordered list, I'm going to add a footer element. And inside the footer, we need to have this text here, but we'll customize it to be relevant for me. So currently it's 2021. This is got semantic problems because I
am self-taught for the most part. I'm community taught. No, I am not self-taught. I am community taught.
Zroll's my last name. All rights reserved. Real official. This is not going to be stolen.
But I did not go to school for
have this footer here. And let's go ahead and refresh this. Sometimes people will put this inside of a small tag. That's not to say that I'm just curious to see what that looks like.
That's not to say that I did not take a couple of computer science courses. Just because my program wanted us to like have a general idea of what it was like to code, but I was not a developer by any like stretch of the imagination. I put in a lot of work over the past year to try and get myself to
I guess that looks a little better. We'll leave it like
where
that.
I can show my skills.
Okay,
and
nice
showcase
work.
my skills.
Now, some of you may have been wondering,
your engineering,
why
yes,
am I just building everything as this monolithic page component? I thought the whole reason that we were creating our own custom components is because then I can compose them together instead of just shoving everything into this one component. And you would be right. So in the next lesson, we are going to learn how to compose these elements together, learning the concept of parent and child components and so forth. Before we do that, I want to make sure that you've been awake and that you're following along. We're going to have a quick quiz.
Oh no, they're going to quiz me. I work a lot with, right now for my client work, I am working with React, PHP. Well, I'm not touching the PHP part, but you know, it's just part of the overall project, and SQL, and for like the database. And then for my other project, I have somebody who is interested in working with me, and their application is built on a mobile environment in, well, iOS in Swift. So that's going to be also another project that I take on. So yeah, a little bit of everything, and a lot of React, a lot of TypeScript. Yeah, but I like, that's the thing, is that I've sort of like, I should update my personal profile, like my portfolio, but I'm holding off because I'm about to learn astro.build. This is the second time I mentioned this tonight. And like, it's a React framework used for static websites, and I might as well just, instead of refreshing my current portfolio, rebuild it and learn in the process. So yeah, that's those are my plans.
So that is coming up next.
Long story short of it. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, it's quiz time again.
Oh no.
Read through the questions in the quiz, actually click into the editor, type down your answers, and if you find yourself not knowing the answer to one of these, don't just kind of plow ahead, but instead actually do some research. See if you can figure out on your own with Google and whatever other resources you have available to you what the answer to the quiz question is before just moving on. So pause now, answer the questions to the quiz, and then we'll go through them together.
All right. So what is a React component? Chat. A React component. Actually, what is it? Component is a set of JavaScript. It is a JavaScript object. JavaScript object, indicating to React how to render a part of a web page onto the client's side device or in the browser. It's a JavaScript object. It's a function. Maybe it returns JSX, and JSX is an object. Yes. And in that object, it will tell React how to render the specific component. Okay. We will compare our answer to what he says here. So it says here, what is wrong with this code? Function my component, and return small on tiny text. Small. Do you know that JavaScript function is actually a JavaScript object? It's missing a div. Do you know that a JavaScript function is actually a JavaScript object? Yeah, everything in JavaScript is an object. Missing a div. Well, you can return just a small. You can just return a component. But I don't know if it's missing a div, right? Like, I don't think you need a div. You can just return a paragraph if you wanted to. But that was my question, I think. Is this an element? Is small an element? Well, let's double check and see. Small HTML. HTML small tag. Is it just because it's not wrapped in p tags? Okay, I see. So small. This is normal text. This is smaller text. Oh, okay. Let's try it without this p tag. Does it work? Am I getting anything? It is. So it doesn't need a containing element. So why was it contained? It's like an EM tag, I guess. Yeah, I guess so. But I wonder if it's semantic. It's not deprecated, but it is possible to archive richer or the same effect with CSS. Okay. I'm tiny text. So I have to go. Looking forward to more content from you. Good night. Good night, Carol. Thank you for stopping by. Welcome to the community. Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm glad that you had fun tonight. I'll see you again. What is wrong with this code? Function myComponent. Return. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and say the thing that is wrong with this is it doesn't have a containing element for the small, just because that's what I can see from here. That's the answer that I'm going to give it, but he's going to correct me for sure. It doesn't feel like rendering it is the answer, right? Because it's saying what's wrong with this code. So I don't know if it's saying what is missing from this code. Well, let's see here. Return our function header, return header, nav, the image, and then the width, nav and header. Okay. React DOM.render, header, document get element by ID and root. The only thing that I can see here is that, like, you know, there's no from React here, right? And like no this is what I can see here. Otherwise, this won't work, right? Document.get element by ID root. And it's calling the component. Function header calls this component, which then renders the header with the nav and an image inside of there. React DOM.render, and yeah, I don't think I see anything else. And then if that's the case, then this would be, as you said, just like there's no render, right? It would be my component and get element by ID root, right? So you call the component and this, but also then like you need to do the same thing. It's just like import React from React and import React DOM from React DOM, right? But I don't know if I see anything else. Let's see.
All right, number one, what is a React component? Well, basically put, a React component is simply a function that returns React elements. Well, what exactly are React elements? React elements are the objects that get created when we return JSX. So although this looks very much like HTML, remember this is JSX, which is a special syntax of React, and under the hood, it's returning a regular JavaScript object. Those objects are eventually turned into real DOM elements that people can see on the screen. So sometimes you'll hear people refer to this as UI or user interface. And that just means that it's what the user can actually see on the screen. And just like any other JavaScript function, a component can be reused over and over. Here I'm creating a page component, but I can run my page function, so to speak, or in other words, create an instance of my page component by just rendering page again. Okay, let's go to number two. What is wrong with the following code? It's a really small difference, but it's an important one. Any components that you create need to begin with a capital letter. This is called Pascal case, where it's essentially camel case, but where the first letter is also capitalized. Basically, anytime you might want to have, I guess you could say, different words in your component name, like my component, all you do is capitalize the first letter of the next word. This would, of course, be instead of putting some kind of space in between it, like in a regular sentence. And then finally, what's wrong with the code in number 3? Hopefully this one wasn't too difficult to find, but if you look way down here, instead of calling our function like you might normally be used to by adding parentheses at the end, with function components in React, you instead surround these with the angle brackets as if it were a regular HTML tag.
My mind wasn't even there. Look at what we did. What did we do? We were so far off. So it would have to be my... Why am I calling myself a React developer again? I completely forgot what we were doing. Oh, that's embarrassing. But
and
you live
in
and you
React,
learn.
this is the correct way to,
That's
I guess you could say, call
right? So that you
your
trip
component or create
always the little
an
things that trip you up. Yeah, exactly. It's always the little things.
Okay, short and sweet. Nice job on that quiz. Hopefully you were able to follow along. Next, we're going to move forward and see how we can do a better job of composing our components together.
Perfect. Dev Limiter, well, thank you for the follow. Welcome to the stream. I appreciate you stopping by. All right, let's see.
As we've mentioned, it's not ideal to be taking our entire markup and stuffing it into one component like we're doing here. So let's learn through practice the concept of creating a parent and child component.
John
we're going to start this
thank
off
you for the
by
follow.
having you do a mini challenge. So let me type out that challenge.
Let's see what it says here.
Okay, your little mini challenge is to take the header element from our page and to put it into its own component that's called header. Technically speaking, I'm not necessarily asking you to then render the header inside the page, but if you want a little extra credit challenge, you can render that header component that you just made inside of the page here. Pause now and work on this mini challenge.
A mini challenge. Move the header element from page into its own component called header. Okay. Seems simple enough. Connection on LinkedIn as well. All right, I'll take a look at LinkedIn a little bit later after stream, but I will accept it for sure. All right, let's see here. I think we're going to do this, right? And what we'll need to do is return a a header component. So let's see here. And you know what? Actually, just for simplicity's sake, we'll just do this. Paste. And we'll just get rid of that there. But what we will need to do is we will call the header component in here. And I think that should keep everything the same. Yeah, there you go. Perfect. Calling a function within a function. Okay.
Okay, just like it says, we are going to create a separate header component here, and we're doing this outside of page because they're different components. And basically, I can just cut out this whole header section and return it from my header component. And that's really all the mini challenge was asking you to do. Now, if you didn't try to do the little extra credit I gave you and render the header inside here, I want you to think for a second, what might that look like? Well, just like we are creating our page component down here, or rather we're creating an instance of our page component down here, I can create
You
an
know what my
instance
eyes are.
of my
It's on that
header
page render
component
component.
by just typing it out like this, as if it were an HTML element amongst my other code. And here we see the concept of composability in practice. I've set aside some of my UI to be managed by a single header component, and then anytime I want to essentially insert these elements into my page, I can create
This
an
React
instance of
components
my
always
header
start with a
component
capital letter
just
too.
like this.
Like, I can't believe.
Now, in a web page that's this small, it's really not that necessary to do this, but I'm sure you can imagine if this were a much larger application, especially one that had pieces that had a lot of user interaction and so forth, it becomes really, really beneficial to move these things into their own separate components. Okay, so that leads us to the next part of this challenge, which I will type out now.
Axel.
Essentially,
Axel?
I want you
Yeah.
to do the same thing,
Thank you
but
for the
now
follow. Welcome
with
to the
the
stream.
footer as its own component and the rest of the content as its own component. Pause now and work on this challenge.
I see. Footer as its own component. Okay. And the H1 and the all together as another component. So let's do function. We'll do main component first. And we're going to just return, and for the sake of simplicity this time around, chat. What am I missing here? Oh no. An element to wrap them around. Because you can only return one component at a time. And then we need to do function footer, right? And return. We'll just do this. Control X here and just right here. Boop. Do that. And we are going to render them. Main component and footer. And if we try to run this, reasons I'm excited to learn React, it works. I think I'm going to hop off, but it was nice tuning in. We'll be back for sure. Thank you so much for tuning in, John. It was great having you here. Thank you for stopping by, and I'll see you around. Have a good night.
Okay, just like before, we'll create a new footer function or component here, and it's going to return the footer content. I'll just cut that out of there, put it right here, and down here in its place, we will render the footer component.
Mister, welcome to the stream.
Okay, and then
Thank
we'll
you for
do
the
the
follow.
same thing for the main content component. I'll take everything here, including the H1. And there's a little trick here, because if you tried to just paste that in, you'll notice that this is two sibling elements, which again, we can't just render side by side. We need a parent element to surround them. So I will put this div down there, indent there.
That's smart. I should
and
start doing
we
that.
will render an instance of our main content component. Now, I should be able to refresh the page and essentially have the exact same thing. Of course, now that I've wrapped this in a div, very technically speaking, these elements are now children of the div, and the div exists right here on this level. For my purposes now, this div is not harming anything. It's not changing my styling or anything, so I'm not terribly worried about it. So hopefully you can understand now the idea or the naming of parent-child components. We have a parent component, which is our page component, and just by virtue of it rendering other components, these other components become, by name, children components.
Very
and
nice.
Just like HTML, this can go deeper and deeper down the rabbit hole. I could have main content rendering another component that we have also made. And then relative to main content, that other component would be a child component and main content would be the parent component. This really is no different than in our HTML, how you can have different levels of parent, child, and even grandchild or whatever you want to call it. Nice work on this challenge. You can see that we are now composing our page together of other components. Now, we're pretty overdue in learning the ability to add some styling to our page. So that's what we're going to work on next.
Cool. Let's do some styling. But where are we at? Oh my god, hello, it's Rufio. Welcome to the stream, everyone. Oh my god. Hello, hello, hello. Hi, guys. How's it going? Welcome. Hello. Rufio. Rufio. How's it going, guys? Oh, my music is... Why did my music stop? Oops. I didn't realize. Parrot Gang! Hey, welcome, Parrot Gang. How's it going? How's it going? Welcome, everyone. Thank you for the follows, everyone. Lark, JS Dev May Cry, Scotty Codes. Thank you guys so much. Welcome, welcome, welcome. You guys check out my music. Yeah. Hey, Mister. Thank you, guys. My name is Jamil. I am currently working on the Scrimba React course. I am part of 100 devs. I did the cohort last cohort. And I am trying to give back. Welcome, Lark. It's very nice to meet you. I'm trying to give back. I'm trying to redo well, not redo. So I've done React before, and so I'm familiar with the functionality and stuff with React. So I thought there might be a little bit of like value in trying to do the course the first time around with a little bit of like React knowledge to see how if I can solve it before the instructor solves it for me. But Sachi Monmon, thank you so much for the follow. Welcome, guys. It's very nice to have you here. How's your evening? What did you guys do? Oh, right. You know what? I think this works. Oh no. I don't think my shout out is working. I'll have to figure that out at some point. I think it's... But yeah, what were you guys working on? Oh, it worked. Perfect. We distracted Rufio like always. A good job, yes. Very, very, very well played, guys. As you guys are doing... You guys are amazing at your job because you're doing exactly that right now. / It worked way more than usual. 100 crypto stars were made. Okay, very nice, very nice. What were the crypto stars about? Like, tell me a little bit. A thing was made. It kind of worked-ish. You know what? We'll take it. It works. It's very nice to meet you guys. I hope you guys are having a good start to your new year. And those of you guys who are doing Jobuary, I hope that's going well for you guys. We discovered crypto was the scam we made all along. It sure indeed is. We were making an app that tracks how many job recruiters rejections you get with stars. Okay. Oh, that's very cool. All you have to know is that its design is far superior to Twitter. I believe that. Twitter is very... I call Twitter a $44 billion React tutorial. All you have to know is that its design is far superior to Twitter. Yeah. I think the new Twitch shoutouts is /shoutout Rufio, something like that. Okay, yeah. We're also very distracting, so are you ready for it? I am especially ready for it, Lark. Welcome to the stream, everyone. Thank you for stopping. Bye. I really need to start working on my emotes. Now that I'm going to try and do this a little bit more frequently, I should start taking this a little bit more seriously. Yeah.
We're going to start off this lesson with a sort of mini challenge. Our goal is to add a
All right, so what we're gonna do is I'm gonna start slowly working my way back into the Scrimba React course so that we continue the course, and I will bop my head alongside you guys. Too less sound alerty. Props for trying to be productive. Thank you. I appreciate that. Sometimes I'm good at it. Other times, trying is the key word here, Rupio. Yeah, I mean, like, I only made it, what are we at? Like 4 or 5 seconds in, and I have to pause already. These guys are good. They're great at their jobs. That's why they're senior developers, by the way.
navigation bar to our little site here. And navigation items like this are usually handled with something like an unordered list with list items. So that's your challenge. Underneath our image here, your challenge is to add an unordered list with 3 list items for pricing, about, and contact. In the end, this
Super senior, mind you.
will essentially be like adding some HTML to your
Super
page.
senior
So
Saiyan.
this should be pretty quick. Pause the screencast and work on this challenge.
See, now they want us to pause. Okay, let's see here. Add an... Oh, okay. Add a UL inside of the header's nav and create the following LIs. Okay, perfect. So we'll do this. Onwards. Thank you for the follow. Welcome to the stream. Oh, what happened here? So we'll do this. And we'll do this. Right? And we'll do this. And then we'll do this. My mouse stopped moving. What happened? My keyboard's not working. Oh, there we go. Pricing, about, and contact. Super senior, mind you. Even the tutorial is trying to distract you. Yes, it is. You see, like, I can't get anything done. It's good though. I do like this React tutorial. The last tutorial I tried to take on was the full stack open course, and I think full stack open is a great resource if you have the time to do it front to back. However, if you don't have other knowledge that you can pull from, like previous coding knowledge, I think it's a little bit hard to jump into, because it really does rely on the fact that you know a decent amount in full stack development. If you are just going to jump in, for example, and learn TypeScript, it was hard. I tried to do it. I didn't manage to finish the chapter. It was that difficult. It was rigged.
Simply enough, we can add an unordered list with our 3 list items for pricing, about, and contact. Let's hit save and see where we are. Okay, pretty ugly, but we're going to style this now. Fortunately, styling something in React is as simple as adding classes, just like you would in regular HTML.
I don't think so.
The only difference you need to know about is that instead of using class equals, we're going to use class name equals. And that's because under the hood, if you remember, React is taking these JSX elements and turning them into native DOM elements.
So many class names.
And just like when we were creating things in vanilla JavaScript, we would say something like const unordered list equals document.create element with unordered list as the type. And then we would say ul.class name equals something if we wanted to set the class name. So in the end, that's why we're using class name instead of class in React. And so I will set the class name here to maybe nav-items. Hit save, and then in our style.css, I can add nav items. And maybe first let's take the list style off. So we'll say list style of none, and sure enough, our bullets go away. And that brings us to the next part of this challenge.
Nice.
Using Flexbox, I want you to line up the nav items horizontally so that they
this
sit
is going
next to each other
way,
like
way
this.
back. This is bringing up my
also
front
using
end
Flexbox, I want you to line up the unordered list with your newly horizontal list items to be in line with our logo so that everything is nice and aligned just like we have in this image.
All right, let's see.
In doing so, I want you only to use CSS classes. I don't want you to select any bare elements like the whole nav or anything like that.
mostly just so we can get some practice typing out class name, pause the screencast, and work on this part of the challenge.
All right. So what do we have here? We have a parent element containing the image and the source, and what we want to do is we want to space them. Okay, so we'll just do this. Last name is equal to, let's just say, we'll call it the header container. Okay, and then we'll go to our style.css and actually, you know what? We'll try to do this alphabetical order. Header container. We're gonna do display, and we're gonna say flex, and then we're gonna say flex direction row, and justify content. Space between word. Oh, whoops. Let's save. Run. It works, but it looks... I don't know if I need this. Let's see this. Actually, yeah, let's undo that. So space between, but then I need to make these so that they also are flexed in a row. So let's do this. Nav items is already... Okay, let's style none. Display flex. Flex direction row. And and then we'll make it easy and just say padding right 0.5 em. No, doesn't like that. Doesn't like that. Because we need to target the LIs. And we'll just say padding, and we'll do 0 and half an em. There we go. That's how we do it. And it looks more reasonable like this.
Well, let's piggyback off our nav items class, which we already have. I should just be able to change the display to flex, and sure
if anybody
enough,
was
that
confused
gives
about my
me
process
all of
there,
my items in a row.
you can let me know.
Now
whenever.
let's put our list item in line with our logo image here, and then we'll worry about some spacing between these items. Back in my code, I'm going to probably give my nav a class name of nav. Of course, I could have just selected the whole nav element, but like I mentioned, we're here to practice class names. So I'll make a class name of nav, and we'll select our nav. Let me hit refresh over here so that the styles will apply immediately. And I'll give this a display of flex. Awesome. Our elements are in a line. Now, because my nav only has two elements, the image as the first element and the unordered list as the second element, I guess I should say two direct children, I can just use justify content space between to push that pricing about and contact items to the far right. It also looks like our logo got a bit stretched. That just kind of happens in Flex containers. So I'll say align item center, and that should fix my aspect ratios of the image.
We could have aligned
And
it
then I'll
as
go
well.
ahead and add a little bit of space between my list items there. I know I mentioned using classes, but in the case of list items, I usually prefer to select the unordered list by its class.
I'm actually going to pause here for a moment. We are at the top of the hour. We have 2 minutes left. I just want to make sure that this doesn't go off. Come on now. Okay. All right.
And then just select all the list items. That way I don't have to go in and add a class name to every single one of my list items. Let's just give those a padding of maybe 10 pixels. Okay, that's looking pretty good.
Cool.
Now my image is looking a little bit small to me. I want to make it bigger, but oh yeah, we added this width attribute. But now that we know how to style with classes, let's have sort of an impromptu third part of this challenge.
Oh, that's probably why.
Okay, your task is to change the image styling to happen in the CSS instead of right here in line. And of course, for practice, let's add a new class to the image just so you can style it that way.
Okay.
Pause the screencast and work on this part of the challenge.
You know what? This might be a good spot in a moment to go take a 5-minute break, because we like to take our breaks here. We'll call this nav image, and nav image. The naming convention for myself is not it's not great. I'm not following Scrimba's naming convention. But now we have the picture looking like it was before. I think I need to, yeah, there we go. What is this? Oh, it's just a refresh. Okay.
Simply enough, we can take our width out, which is going to make our image pretty huge if I refresh, but we'll give it a class name. Let's call it nav-logo. And then we will select our nav logo, and let's give it our width of 40 pixels again. I have to hit refresh over here. Okay, we're back where we were. Actually, this logo is looking a little small. Let me try 60 pixels. Yeah, I think I like that size better. At this point, I think
Nice.
it's a perfect opportunity for you to continue practicing styling this page. Obviously, this page is really small in its scope. And so before we just push forward, I would like you to spend at least a few minutes styling up this page, making it look a little bit nicer, add your own flair to it. In fact, I actually did that and put maybe 5 minutes of styling into it, which obviously shows it's not going to win any design awards. But I did change the font to use a Google font. I added this little box shadow under our nav bar. I moved the footer down to the actual footer section of our page, the bottom of our page, and added some really basic styles to it. So this is a great opportunity not only for you to flex your CSS skills and get your hands on the keyboard and do some practice, but also to interact with the Scrimba community, especially on Discord. Once you've styled something up that looks, well, pretty much anything's going to look better than this. Once you have some kind of style.
Do we want to do that? Do we want to style this quickly? I just need to quickly answer my sibling. Also, I think it's good to have your naming convention on this type of tutorials, since it could differentiate between your code and their code. That is also true. No, it's a very fair point, Lark. Yeah. Okay. Do we want to do this? I think we should. I think that's a good idea. Of course, eventually you'd want to learn all of the good conventions, though. Yeah. Okay. We have our footer. And our footer is up here. We'll give it a class name. And oh, actually, before I get into this, I'm gonna take a 5-minute break. This is probably a good place to stop because I am going to upload this video. So it might be beneficial for someone in the future to see how to style that page. So we'll do that. Quick posture and hydration check. You came right at the 5-minute mark, so I'm gonna posture and hydrate. 5-minute timer mark. I'll see you guys in 5 minutes. Thank you so much for stopping by. Yeah, check me out my socials. It's gonna come up twice because I have two. Hello. But yeah, I will be back very shortly. Where is this? Okay. Whew. So we have about a minute. A minute before we can go back and we'll pick up where we left off. How's everybody's night going? Hope it's going well. Hope things are great over on your end. Close this. Close this. All right. It's going good. Just a tad bit of a hot weather. Hot weeder? Weather. Like warmer than usual for this time of year? Is that what you mean? Weeder. No, that's fine. I'm just messing with you. Okay. Don't say dot footer. Let's just say now how do I take that component and align it to the bottom? What would I do so that I align that to the bottom? Summer. Oh, it's summer over there. Oh, interesting. So you're in the south then? It's kind of cold here. It was like, it's -3 right now. You actually can't see because it's behind my photo. But yeah, it's -3 right now where I'm at. Kind of cold. That's why I'm wearing my sweater on stream. Chile. Oh, nice. It's 20 degrees. It's 20 degrees. What time is it over there right now? Afternoon/evening time? It's 9:45 right now in Chile? Oh. Interesting. I didn't realize. Okay. Maybe I should pay attention to the map more. My geography is horrible. Okay. We'll just say padding top 1 EM 10 12. What, can we do margin top then? My CSS skills are horrible. Yeah. So that works. Margin works. Right? Like 2 hours more than EST time. I'm actually an hour ahead of EST time. I just didn't realize. Well, so Newfoundland is half an hour ahead of us. But I didn't realize there was another time zone that was a full hour ahead of us. Between here and, well, I guess, Africa and Europe. Because I'm on the Atlantic side of North America. It's because of DST, daylight savings time. Okay. Oh yeah. All right. So you guys are not doing daylight savings time. I see. Usually you guys have the same time as New York. Wait, you guys go 2 hours ahead and behind? Isn't New York in EST? Okay, yeah. Yeah, but we have daylight savings time, so when we move the clock ahead an hour every year, then we go back to normal. So, oh, you guys go. Oh, I see. It's because daylight savings time in the north is different than daylight savings time in the south. So when we reverse the time, we meet, but when we go the other way, it goes 2 hours apart. Oh, that's so funny. Oh man.
I'll added. Take a screenshot and share it in Discord. As you
All right. What happened to my code? I don't like this, but it is what it is. It will have to be that way. This is going to be my styling. At least it looks a little bit cleaner. Oh, that's funny.
If you make changes to your code here in Scrimba, it will create a note that you can save, and you can even share that on Twitter. You can share the link to that in Discord, whatever it takes for you to get involved with the Scrimba community. Once you've had a chance to apply some of your own creativity to this little page, the next thing we're going to do is clean up our code here, where right now we...
Actually, one thing that I could do was instead of using this margin, do this. We have root, right? And root is display flex direction column, right? Justify content space between. Why is this not working? Yeah. And so now that this whole thing is flexed, right? What I can do then is use footer and then say align self self flex end, no, justify self, no, align item flex end. What does space around look like? Does it even do anything? Is it black start? I don't know if it's actually doing anything. But at least space between is showing up, since you can see here. Where's main content? We can tell by using our handy dandy debugger. So if we go to main content, and we'll just say class name is equal to main content. In here, let's say dot main content, and we will say border 1px solid red. Right? Yeah. Space between is not working then. Why is space between not working? Around. Oh. I see. I see. Something happened. Justify content space around. That means we'll just say this is center. Then align items space around. Right? Between. Align items CSS. What happens if I just type align items? Stretch, flex start. What am I missing here? Okay. Well, I'll have to figure it out. It might be... It's kind of hard to say without really being able to see the console. Sure. I would appreciate some help. What am I missing here? Why is this not showing me space between the red line and the green box? Space around. That's center. Because coming top down is our main axis, and so our cross axis is horizontal. So I don't want to affect the horizontal. I want to affect the main axis. And why is the main axis not giving me space around? Space between. Well, it could be different things. Yeah. Margin collapsing. Okay. Oh, yeah. Like a border box? I can't remember what the CSS original command is. Or like rule is, sorry, not command. Okay. Well, I won't waste too much time on this. This might be just because of the Scrimba under the hood. There's also how display flex changes this behavior when flex direction is set as column. Justify content and align items change place. Okay, so align items. Where are my list of commands, though? We'll say, like, if it's flex end. Yeah. Justify content is not working at all. Adding top to it. I cannot believe this. Are you serious? Oh no. Stop. Stop. Okay, no. It's still not working. I was going to be like, if it's because the window is too small, I'm going to lose my mind. But still. There's no space between with the line items. We'll say stretch, right? Align content space around. No. Align cell. Flex end. Mm, I wonder if it's because hmm, it's really hard to tell without, like, for example, if an element doesn't have enough of a height or a width, the behavior changes. Yeah. Well, in main content here, we can just do... Let's see if this works. Flex direction column. Right? Center. This doesn't work. It works when I am targeting individual elements. But it doesn't work when I am targeting just the parent container. So the parent container does not flex direction column, justify content center, and then align item center doesn't work. Space around? No. Wait. What am I trying to do? Honestly, it's so hard to do. Yeah, from a viewer's perspective. No, that's fine. I'm thinking it might just also be the Scrimba editor. Might also be a layer of complexity on top of the reason why. Like, I can't, like, the fact that I can't actually check out the console to see what each component looks like kind of makes it hard. What is the parent of main container? The actual code looks like this. So main content, right? It's wrapped in a div, and then that div gets put into another div with an ID of root. Say row here, and then justify content. Does this work? Okay, so this works when it's row, justify content works, but when it's column, justify content stops working. Let's see. Property defines how the browser distributes the space between and around content items along the main axis of the container. Oh. Maybe. Hold on. So if I want space around the cross axis... No, this is the main axis. Ofu997, thank you for the follow. Welcome to the stream. So this is the main axis, right? Because this is... I'm assuming this is in a row direction. Okay. Well, it is what it is. We'll just keep moving forward. But at least we got something figured out. It looks better than it did before. We'll get rid of our console log, you know? There we go.
We have everything kind of stuffed into our index.js file, and we're going to learn how we can move these components into their own folders and clean up our code a bit.
Cool. So we have about 15 minutes left. At the end of the 15-minute mark, I am going to stop Scrimba for the evening. And then I realized that I did not do a leak code today. So I will be doing a leak code problem, and then I will probably hang up the stream tonight. It's getting kind of late. It is already 9 o'clock. So I kind of want to wind down for the evening, but I appreciate everyone for hanging out.
There are practically innumerable ways to organize your projects. And so I'm hoping to, in this screencast, just teach you some of the principles. And as we go through the course, you may see different methods that I use. And of course, as you look at other people's code, you'll see the ways that they use as well for organizing their code.
From 16
now, what
up
we
to 21.
have here is a very small site for React. There's hardly anything here. I barely have 50 lines of code to make this page. However, anything substantial that you have will end up being hundreds, more likely thousands, or even tens of thousands of lines of code in total. So it's really important to have an organization system that makes sense to you, to your group, and something that you agree upon in the beginning and stick to as you continue to develop. So I'm going to show you with separating one of these components into its own file, and then I'm going to give you a challenge to do the same for the others.
Perfect.
So what I'll do is work on the header, and we're going to move header into its own file. So I'm going to create a new file in my Explorer up here called header.js.
Okay, I see. So
a convention that I personally like to stick to is that any file I create that will essentially house a React component will start with a capital letter the same as the component's name itself. Now I'm going to copy, or actually cut, this entire component out, and over in header.js I'm going to paste it. Now there's a couple things I need to change here. I want you to pause the screencast and see if you can think of two things that I need to change in this file in order for me to then be able to import it into this file so that it's working the way that it was before. So take.
All right. So first we must export this function. And then second, we must go... I thought it would be this, but it is not this. And we need to change a secondary thing. I'm not completely sure. What would the second thing be? Well, let's run this. It should give me an error. An error... Oh! Maybe on the other file, I need to import header from header. Right? And then that component is right there. Was thrown React. Wait. Oh. So something's actually in here that it doesn't like. I think I need to make sure that this is... Well, this is JavaScript, first of all. React from React. And then we will... Do I want to import React DOM? It's gonna get rendered in to page, but I do need to export the function. But if I do that, why would I need this? Something's missing. I'm not sure, to be honest with you. A cross origin error was thrown. How do you export a React component again? Export default, I think it was, right? There we go. There we go. Okay, we got it. Cool. Export default. Default was the keyword that I was missing. But see, that's the issue, is that how would somebody know this if they didn't work with React before, right? Like, maybe if I take this out. No. Yeah, see, like, how would they know this? That is my question. Did I miss something? Like, I did the course so far.
Take a good look at this, pause the screencast, see if you can figure that out. Well, remember, in order for the program to make any sense of JSX, I always need to import React from React. Even though we're not explicitly using capital REACT anywhere here in my code, for JSX to work, I will need to import React from React. Again, this is something that has recently changed. If you're working in an environment that is actively using the updated React 17, then you may not have to do this. The other thing is currently this component is completely stuck inside of this file. I'm not sending it outside of this file anywhere. And so I need to export it. And oftentimes, if this is the only component that I'll have, I choose to export default the component. So I'll say export default header. Alternatively, I could save myself a little bit of lines of code here and just put export default function header right up at the top. And then I don't have to create a separate line down here that does it separately.
The explanation is coming in right now.
I kind of oscillate between these two, so you can just choose whichever one you think you prefer the most and stick with that convention. If you're feeling a little bit rusty on export, import, export default, and so forth, you may want to spend some time researching import and export in ES6, because we will be using it quite a bit in this React course. Now that I have exported my header component, it means that over in my index.js, I can import it, and I'll say import header from, and then I have to use ./H header. And I could say .js, but that's the default extension for imports, so I don't need to specify .js. In this case, ./ is a way to indicate that I'm talking about a file in my own project here, not a package that's in my dependencies like React and React DOM. And I have to make sure that I spell this the exact same as my file name, not necessarily the name of the component. I could have chosen to call this head, like that, and I still would have to say import header from ./header. Or in this case, I could say import whatever because I'm doing an export default. If that's confusing, don't worry too much about it. I prefer to keep the names all the same so that I don't run into any confusion there. Okay, we'll put an extra line here. What's nice about this is now my code is sort of sequestered into the header.js file, which means that if I want to change the header, I can logically come to my header.js file to make changes to my header.
Yeah, fair enough.
And I don't need to change how it's rendered down here because when I import it, I'm importing everything that I have in my header.js file, just like it was when it was declared here in the index.js file.
Yep.
Okay, let's get some practice. Let me type out your challenge. Simple enough, just move the footer component and the main content component into their own files, and then of course do what you need to do to make it so that our site doesn't break down.
Sounds
Pause
good.
the screencast and work on this challenge.
Okay, so I'm going to create a new file, and the file is going to be called footer.js. And I'll take this out. And we'll start off with import React from React. And we will paste this here, export. Default function. And one more. Main content. Content.js. Import React from React. Export default function. Cool. I think this should... One more second. Wait a minute. Footer. Main content. Footer. And main content. Now I think it should work. Perfect. Look at that. Very simple. Well, once you do it a couple of times. Alright, let's continue going. Well, I think that they're just going to rebuild it here, and then once that's done, we can start transitioning into doing some lead code.
Create a new file called F footer.js. Paste my code in, and we'll import React from React so that our JSX works. And then I'll export default my footer function, my footer component, and make sure that I import it here. Say import footer from footer, and just by importing it, now my footer should just be working the same way as it was. I'll hit refresh and everything is working. Awesome. We'll do the same thing for main content, and I can clean up some of these extra lines. Create a new component or file called main content.js. Paste it in. Export default. Import React from React. And of course, we haven't yet imported it, so we will import it. Main content. Hit save, and we're back up and running.
Nice.
Can remove this challenge, and all of a sudden we're down to 17 lines of code. We're importing these components from other files, and that way we have a much better organization on our app here.
Very nice.
Again, like I said, there's a million different ways to organize your code. It's also not uncommon for people to even take this component that's sort of organizing our other components and put it in its own file. A lot of times, instead of calling it page, they'll call it app. That's actually the convention I tend to use. So maybe I'll go ahead and just change this to app while I'm at it. But because of the limited size of this project, I'm not terribly concerned about moving this component into its own file and then also importing all of those other components into that separate file. It just feels like maybe over-engineering it for such a small project.
Fair enough.
Okay, awesome work. Hopefully this has been helpful. We're going to be using organization like this throughout the rest of this course.
Very
so
nice.
again, if you're feeling confused
Feels
about
very
how
authentic.
we're exporting things or importing them, then you may want to spend some time researching export and import in ES6 just to become a little more familiar with it. Or another great way to do that would be to just play with this code. See if you can delete these lines, delete the export default line, and just try to recreate it. See if you can get it to work again.
Cool.
When you feel comfortable with everything we've covered so far, let's keep moving forward.
So I'm going to stop here. We will do... Oh, we hit... Actually, you know what? This is a great point to start, because tomorrow we start up with Vite. Right? So we do Vite tomorrow. Vite, as the French would say. And we are going to jump into our lead code. All right. So, today's problem. To do... Oh. Am I missing something? What's happening here? Okay. So we will do the sum of all odd length subarrays. Okay. Okay. So what are we being passed? So we are given an array of positive integers and return the sum of all possible odd length subarrays of array. Okay, that was a mouthful. A subarray is a contiguous subsequence of the array. Okay, so input 1, you have array 1, 4, 2, 5, 3, and then the output is 58. So how does that happen? The odd length subarrays of array and their sums are 1 is 1, 4 is 4, 2 is 2, 5 is 5, and 3 is 3. Interesting, okay. 1, 4, and 2 is 7. 4, 2, and 5 is 11. 2, 5, and 3 is 10. I see. And then 1, 4, 2, I see. So if we add all of them... Alright. So let's start off. I'm going to start off with a brute force method, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so let count, which is a number, equal to 0, right? And so we're going to have to iterate over this array. So I, which is also a number, equal to 0, where I is less than r dot length and I plus plus. Okay, now here is where we need to okay. So what are we checking? We need to check the array length, right? So we need to make sure if the array length is an odd number, essentially. So we will say let array, and it's going to be an array of numbers, right? Equal to an empty array. Okay. Now, if array.length mod 2 does not equal 0, and oh wait, no, I can't name it array. I need to call it something else. What are we gonna say it? What are we gonna call it? Temp, right? Temp dot length is less than or equal to temp array dot length, right? Because we don't want to we don't want to continue going if the array length, if the subarray length is longer than the original array length, right? So if wait, hold on a second. This is not gonna work. How is that gonna work? Because so what I will do is I will go over the array. This one's kind of tricky because I think I might have to do like a nested. So we have to iterate over the arrays, and we will iterate with a length of 1. How would we go about this? So what is our counter and what is going to be, because, okay, so the first time we go over it, we're at 1. We put 1 into this array, and then we need to add that number to our answer, right? We need to add that number to our answer. And then we go over to the next one. So when we are on the first iteration, the subarray length is 1. When we're on the second iteration, the subarray length is 2. When we're on the third iteration, the subarray length is 3. Okay, so we will need a nested loop then. Right? So, because we're gonna say, now we're going to create our temporary number array, which is just this. And so if temp.length mod 2 is equal to 0, does not equal 0, right? What are we gonna do? Ants plus equals temp I, because it is a number, right? So on the first iteration, what does it do? And temp.length we can also do this. If temp.length mod 2 is 0, then we can just break, right? What was I doing here? If temp.length mod 2 r.length, I don't think that's gonna have to, like, we're gonna have to worry about that because it can't be any longer than the original array, but and I need to return ants here so that I can fix this. But on the first iteration, so I is 0, right? Does not equal 2. Oh yeah. And temp.length is less than or equal to I. Then what do I need to do? I need to put that element that I am on, which is J, into the array. This is where I'm getting lost. I think this is gonna time out because it's too long. But anyways, we will push this, and as long it will keep pushing as long as the length of the array is 0. But it will also reset it each and every time, and then otherwise, break, else, temp ants plus equals temp dot reduce, right? And then we will do a PV and CV, and it's gonna be PV CV, and we'll start it at 0. Okay, so what's happening here? So we go over the first iteration, right? No, this doesn't look like it's gonna work at all. Before even going into all of this, I don't think it's going to work. What is it that I need to check? Because when I'm on the first one, if I'm on the first one, what I'll do is I'll check for an array of length 1, an array of length 3, and then an array of length 5, 7, 9, whatever, because it will keep going up to 100, right? And then the second one, I can do the same thing. So, we'll step into the first one, and we'll create an array. Right? We create an array of size 1. So then we need to create an array of size 3, then we need to create an array of size 5. So what's our next counter? Before we iterate again. So yeah, I think we do this here. This goes in here. Right? And we need to check for the length. Because the first thing is if the array.length is odd, sum it and push it. Right? Is what I should be doing. So now that I've created an array, we're in our first element. We're saying if the element is odd, if the array length is odd, push the sum of this element. So if temp.length does not equal to 0, but I need to say mod 2 does not equal 0, take that value and push it into the answer. Answer is equal to temp dot reduce, and we'll do previous value and current value, and it's going to be an arrow function of previous value plus current value with a beginning of 0, right? But if it's not, but before we check the length, we're going to say temp dot push the value that we are on, right? right? So we do the first iteration, we push this into the array. Is the length this? Okay. And then we will reset. Oh no, we don't need to reset anything because we will continue pushing through, right? So it does at iteration 0. It will at least have to always be I. It will start where I is, and then go all the way to the end. It will push the element that it is on. It will make a check for the length, right? If the length is odd, sum up the array and push it, right? Perfect. Do we need to do anything? I don't think so. Then we go on to the next one. We're going to push that into the array, right? Because we're still on the first outer iteration, and now our array has 1 and 4. Let's just see how this works, actually. We'll just say console log temp here. I think this should do it. Oh, nice. It worked. Cool. So yeah, first time it checks, and then it pushes it in. And then it checks. If it does, then we'll add it. And then pushes it in. And then it checks. And then we'll go over again. Cool. Nice. I don't think that was too bad. But yeah. Stream, thank you so much for tuning in. Let me just submit this first and see that this is the proper solution. Now, is there a better solution out there? Beats 37%, beats 91% for runtime. Well, let's see. JavaScript. O of n solution. So sum is 0 and n is equal to array.length. Suppose n is the length of the given array. Number of subarrays including element r of I is I times n minus I plus n minus I. Because there are n minus I subarrays with array I as first. Okay, so this is requiring a little bit of math and yeah. Okay. Honest question, how did you come up with this formula? Okay, so let's see what this person did. Count it is equal to 0. This person used a triple nested loop. So helping in selecting the starting point, helping in selecting the endpoint, so that it only counts to the subarrays which have an odd length. Okay. Cool. Well, it's interesting to see other people's solutions. For beginners like me, runtime 80%. Right? So they did the same thing as me. Cool. Naive solution. Most optimized solution. Ends with I plus 1, begins with r.length. Total occurrence is this. Math.floor of the occurrences divided by 2 times the array of I. And this is, I think, just an algorithm, right? Because this could only be like the total number of times we can iterate is half the length of the array. Easy to read and faster version. So const ends with I plus 1. Okay. Begins with array length minus I. So if array length is 10 and I is 0, so it starts at 10 and ends with 1. Total occurrences ends with times begins with. Okay. 10 times 1, so 10 occurrences. Total plus equals to the total occurrences minus the floor of math of total occurrences divided by 2 times the array of I. Total occurrences minus even occurrences is equal to odd occurrences, which is fair. Yeah. Okay. That's some advanced math that I am not too familiar with, but I am going to end it here. Thank you very much, everyone, for tuning in. Let's actually raid someone. Cool. Let me see who is online. And we will see if we can rate someone that we know. Oh, Sam is online. So let's see if we can raid Sam. Thank you everyone for stopping by. I hope you have a good rest of your night. And I'll see you around.